Hello, everyone. Okay, a very warm welcome to the global series. I, Dr. Kavita Shanmugan, Assistant Professor PPSH at Chinmaya Vishwa Vidyapeeth, takes pride to welcome all present here for the wonderful and knowledge-filled global series talk. This is a global series talk which we are conducting from past few months, and we have called up so many eminent speakers over here and which have been very, very beneficial, not only to Chinmaya Vishwa Vidyapeeth students, but also for the others. And today I have come with an eminent speaker over here to introduce Ms. Aakanksha Lath, Associate Director, Make My Trip, to this global series. She is the HRBP Technology at Make My Trip. She holds a very rich experience in HR field, especially in the area of recruitment, talent management, learning and development, employee engagement, performance management, business communications, and whatnot. She has been doing a wonderful job, not only at Make My Trip, but wherever she has been working till now. She has been working with big giants like Godrej Consumer Products as well as with Bharti Airtel also. So I'm not saying that she has been wonderfully doing well and performing very high. I'm telling it because the kind of accolades and the achievements that she has been received from each of these organization is really commendable. She has been awarded with CEO's Ring of Honor. She has been awarded with Exemplary Manager, got Values Award, Values Award being there. So this itself shows that how commendable her performance would be as an HR, and what a kind of knowledge that we are going to gain today. She has been anchoring CSR agenda for the organization. She has been, closely being associated with Chinmaya mission and has been doing a wonderful, contributions over there. She has graduated with electrical engineering degree. Thereafter, she has pursued MBA from Symbiosis Institute of Business Management. I think that is where her passion would lie in. And I think from the engineering transfer to MBA, taking up the HR as a area of expertise, I think that is really a good choice that she has made in, and that's being reflected in her awards and recognitions that she has earned till now. So I hand over the platform to you now to proceed forward. Okay, welcome you, Ms. Aakanksha.
Thank you so much, Kavita ji, for the very, very kind introduction. I will first just switch to gallery view. And before I start, I would love to see the faces of the people we have here. If that's not too much to ask, can we please have the videos on? It's a small gathering as of now. So it would be really nice if we could have like a two-way conversation here. Is that a possibility, Kavita ji, or are generally students not comfortable with their videos on?
Usually we do not tell that, but there are few students who will willfully do it. Okay.
Thank you so much, Vinay, for leading from the front. Okay, I will not pressurize. I know it's a Saturday and there could be different reasons why we are here. But yeah, just wanted to first of all thank Chinmaya Vishwavidyalaya for having me over for this very eminent series, I must say. And I did happen to go through the list of speakers who've come and spoken to students in over the last few months. And honestly, I feel honored to be a part of the list. So I think that's what I want to say at the and also while Rukma is not here, thank you, Rukma, for having me over. All right. So with that, I think we are set for today for about maybe another next 20 to 30 minutes is what I have a short presentation that, I'll share and probably share some thoughts on human resources. Basis my experience and some Googling that I have done and gathered some inputs. But would love for you to stop me if you have any questions even during the course of the presentation, while we can obviously take them in the end. But anytime, I think that's the good part of having a smaller group, that we can really have a more interactive session rather than it just being like a one-way conversation. So with that, I will just share my screen.
Can I just share the questions that you wanted to share?
Yeah, so I'll ask them. I'll ask for it to be shared once, or yeah. So just give me a moment. Okay. Got it. So is my screen visible?
Yes.
It is, right?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. All right. So I think the first point of starting at any point, whenever we're getting into any such kind of gathering or a conversation, is to understand why we're here. And, what is the purpose that each of us is trying to achieve. So while we all know there is this session happening on human resources, everyone will have a different reason to be here, right? So what's the purpose for you to be here today? And before I get started, I would love to understand what each one of you are expecting to get out of the session, or what is it, that you really want to achieve at the end of this 1 hour that you're spending here on a Saturday. So if I could have the first question on why are you here, I think that would be great. Is Arun going to be helping with that, Kavita ji?
No, I'll just.
Okay. You'll do it. All right, perfect. Yes, so if everyone would have this poll on their screens, so if you could just. "14 have answered. 12 have answered. Okay, we have 14 participants. 2 more to go.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think. All right. Maybe we can end the poll and see the results.
It is to know what does share the results. I will share.
Yes, yes. All right. So I don't know if the first option wasn't chosen for politically right reasons, or is it genuinely the case? But all right, I think that the idea was just to put it out there. And neither the last one. I'm disappointed. I thought, we were going to have some interviews at the end of the session, but all right. So yeah, fair. I see people have said they want to understand what HR does and what are the various career options in HR. So we'll try and cover a little of both, and we'll also try and cover a little of what HR doesn't do, because I think that itself is a huge topic by itself. But I think, yeah, this gives me a sense of what we are here for today. So maybe we can stop sharing the questions. I have done that. Okay. And I'll get back to sharing my screen. I think I just saw Rukma enter. Hari Om, Rukma. All right. So, okay. So now, moving on. So we've understood what our purpose is. And before we get into understanding more about HR, I want us to think about what is the purpose of a business, right? And if anybody has any thoughts to share, if you could please put it on the chat, that will be really nice.
Yes. Usually students do that they put it across in the chat box. So I would request the audience that anything is being there, please put your views on the chat box.
Okay, business results is equal to profits. All right, that's one. What else? What is the purpose of a business? Okay. So yeah, business results definitely is equal to profits, and the purpose of a business is to make profits largely. Having said that, just a very simple twofold definition that I have in mind is the first one is to satisfy a customer need, right? It could be a need which is current or in the future, right? A current need is somewhere where I feel hungry and I want to go out and buy food, and the business helps me by selling food. A future need is something that I don't even know what that I wanted, but someone else has thought of it out there, like the recent space mission by Tesla, right? It's not a customer need, but it's something that the business initially thought of it and just created that vision, and then which people followed up and lapped on to it gradually, and that's creating customer need. So essentially creating customer need and catering to it. And the second part is obviously to create shareholder value, right? And this is a very traditional definition of what the purpose of a business is. There's also a lot of talk nowadays on how businesses should not only create shareholder value, but also create shared value. And when I say shared value, it means their responsibility towards the ecosystem they operate in. So how businesses need to be more sustainable. They need to have, they need to pay back to the environment and to all their stakeholders in and around the organization. So, but that's probably for another day. So when we come to shareholder value, obviously, like someone did mention, that the idea is to make profits and make money for all shareholders in the process. So how do you create shareholder value? Obviously, you need a very strong business model and all those aspects in place. And then there is this, right? Happy employees ensure happy customers, and happy customers ensure happy shareholders, in that order. I don't know how many of you have heard of this gentleman before, Simon Sinek. He's one of my favorite authors and has written a lot of stuff on management and leadership, including Start With Why, Leaders Eat Last, so on and so forth. So while this is a good quote and good quote to share and for us to understand and be convinced by it, but there's also a lot of research that has happened in this area, that how do employees, apart from contributing by working for a business, how else do they really impact shareholder value? And Aon Hewitt, which is a global management consulting firm, has done a lot of research in the employee engagement area. And one of the key findings has been that if employees are engaged up to a level of 72% or more, so 72% or more employees are engaged in your organization, there is a potential of your shareholder value being impacted by up to 50%. And this is basis research. This is not, just numbers to put out there. So there is definitely a business case for why, employees need to be focused on and be kept engaged. Not just giving them their salaries and basic benefits, but really focusing on their engagement. So now that we have that business case ready, who can engage employees the best? Who should be doing it? Any thoughts? Managers and HR. Okay. Vinay says managers and HR. Managers or HR? If you have to choose one. HR. Okay, Vinay. So traditionally, and you're right, Vinay, before I proceed, you are right. Traditionally, when HR started, and we'll get to that in a bit, it was considered the job of people manager to take care of their take care of their employees. And the initial thought and idea was that the manager knows best. So whatever the manager does for the employee is what the employee deserves, and that's how it is. But luckily for us, there were some managers, and a sample of that is what you see on your screen, right? So it's Dilbert is one of my favorite office humor strips, right? So I'm not getting into explanation of this, it kills it. But thanks to some people managers like these, there is a set of people who kind of got employed, right? And the realization hit that, yes, we did need some other people as well to take care of employees other than just people managers. And along with me and lakhs of thousands or 10,000 of people before me who got employed in this domain, thanks to some of these managers, were the human resources folks, right? And this entire fraternity who claimed to have, cracked the secret formula of engaging employees and keeping them happy through various methods and processes, some of which you see written here. But yeah, I think that's what's kept us in the business. That's what's kept us in the people business, right? So we come to the topic for today, which is HR, the people business. And why do I call it people business? So again, this is something, while there is a company, there's a legitimate company called the people business, which focuses and does some work in HR. So, and I recently heard about them, but that's not where this thought in my mind came from. I think what I mean by saying the people business is, I believe HR is of the people, for the people, by the people, right? It's pretty much like a government definition. And yeah, people business, management of human resources. Absolutely. I think, Vinay, you're right. Achha, just one point, Kavita ji, I am not being able to see the chat while it comes. I have to click on it separately. Is there a way that I can see the chat, while I'm talking? I don't know if there's some setting. You're on mute. I can't hear you.
The ribbon, if you will put it across the chat box along with the presentation on the side, you will be able to view the chat.
Yeah, it's not, that's what usually happens. Somehow it's not coming on today.
Arunji, can you just support?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay, I've tried minimizing the chat. Let me see if this works. If it doesn't, I'll come back. Right. Okay. So yeah, I was talking about how, I feel HR is somewhere like the government, where it is of the people, for the people, by the people. Having said that, if you ask an employee that, they will never agree to this definition, because for them, HR is just there for the company and against the employees, and trying to just whatever, right? Can you share the previous slide later? As in, you want this presentation later? Is that what you're saying, Atishra? Okay. You can actually just unmute and answer or talk. Even that's fine with me. Okay, I'm guessing that's what she means. All right, I will do that. I can definitely share this with you. This is just some stuff that I've curated over the last week, so that should not be a challenge. Right. So coming back, so yeah, and I think people are not wrong when they believe that HR does work for the organization. But I think HR, somewhere in my experience of the last few years, travels that line, that fine balance between what the organization requires and what people require. And somewhere, is the amalgamation of both of these together. And that's why I call it the business of people, or the people business, right? At this point in time, I think before I proceed, everyone has an opinion on what HR does. And just to outline a few, and some of this I also face in, my real life experiences. So what my friends think I do, the non-HR friends, obviously they think that we're whiling away time and, have a very cushy, easy job. What my mom thinks I do, precisely that. I couldn't find a female version of this, but I just to narrate a very small incident, I think when I started working Make My Trip, after like almost 8-9 months, one day my mother calls me up and she asks me, so like, do you book tickets on call? Or do people send you emails? How does it work? I said, no, that's not what I do. And you paid for my HR education. So you should know that I'm an HR person and I'm not a salesperson. But I think, that sounds much of a black box at times. HR, does tend to become. The next one, again, is very pertinent. So while it says what my wife thinks I do, I will replace the wife with my husband, who obviously thinks I do precisely what you're seeing in the picture, and pretty much a very easy job to live by. The last one, what society thinks I do. I'm sure you've all seen Donald Trump on The Apprentice, the show, which he runs, and this is his patent dialogue. So yeah, people do think that it's apart from firing, maybe also hiring. What I think I do, that's supremely important. Like I told you, I think I am the government. So I am as powerful as that. I am the Superman, or can just do everything and anything. And what I actually do, right? So I think for any HR person, that's as chaotic as life gets. And I'm not trying to scare anybody out here, right? I love my job and I love my field as well, but it does get heavy and loaded at times. So yes, Kavita ji, you're right. Most of the people feel it is hire and fire, and I think I'm used to it. That's what I started the session with, right? People have so many notions of what HR is, and just bumming those notions or just negating those notions is going to take like 2 hours. So we will just focus on maybe a few parts of that. All right. So quickly, just wanted to apologies for the quality of the slide. I've picked it off the internet because I didn't have anything ready here. So this is about how the HR function has really evolved, right? And I have a short video post this as well. But from the focus of HR historically started with employee welfare and more, on the factory side, or more primitive in nature, and where managers took care of it largely, in terms of what people need and how do you cater to those basic needs and get them productive. And that's what the focus remained for a really long time. And then unions came into being, where a group of people realized that if we get together, we can fight for our rights better. And the whole notion that you need to fight for what you want, right? And because you are in a situation where you're against the management. And I think that's something that has been harbored, or been in the minds of people for a very long time, that the organization that is there, or the management that is there, is out to do is not for us, will definitely be working against us or try to fleece us or whatever it is. I think that kind of remained for a really long time. And I'm not saying it's the employee's fault. I think largely it's also a lot of historical legacy to how maybe employees were treated before the Industrial Revolution, and so on and so forth. Gradually, yeah, and then you've seen a gradual shift to what we see HR today as. So shared services, a lot of systems and processes. HR business partnering has been the buzzword for the past 10 years at least, and there's a lot of work that's going on this. And what it says as future, so this slide is obviously slightly dated. I think we've started a lot of these pieces today. So we'll get into a little of this, and I'll obviously take questions as and when you have any. But before that, yes. So I think there was also one more question that I had, Kavita ji. Maybe that can be shared with the group right now. I'll just stop sharing.
Arunji, can you just share the question? Yeah, it has started. Okay.
There we have an honest answer.
Yes.
All right. No, we have people answering. And since a few more people have joined since the last time we spoke about this, if we can have a few videos on, would love to see people. So yeah, just putting it out there, no pressure. Okay, so I think this is good enough. We can end the poll probably. Or people are answering? No, I think we've pretty much.
I have end the poll and I'll just share the results. Yeah.
Yes, please. All right. So, I think all the pitching that I've done for HR in the last 10 minutes has worked. So at least we have a lot of you, talking about how HR is a game changer. Yes, I truly believe that. And thank you for the two honest answers as well, that who feel that, by being in HR, I interview others, get better at it, and then probably get better at cracking interviews myself. HR is pretty simple to work at. It is. It's no rocket science. I think it's actually a people science. So yeah, I would agree to that. HR is very powerful in the organization. I wish that was true. I don't think so. At least I haven't encountered that yet.
I also second that thought.
Right. And I'm surprised there are no answers. There are no takers for the first and the fourth option. And they're pretty closely linked. And maybe I can just stop sharing. So, for all the people I have interviewed in HR, when we, not me and a lot of my colleagues, I think you share your experiences. Sneha, thanks for getting a video on. I really appreciate that. So everyone, the most traditional answer and the most common answer is, oh, I love people, right? And I love, I think if I love people and I'm an extrovert, HR is the place to be. But I'm glad that, that thinking has changed over time. And introverts do equally well in HR if they need to, right? It's not just about being social with people. It goes way, way deeper than that. But yeah, thank you for responding, folks. I'll just go back to sharing my screen once more. Got it. All right. So I will get onto the video and I'm hoping it works. So it seems it will take about 10 seconds to get on. So just bear with me, folks. I think another 5-7 seconds it should be on, otherwise we'll play it through the link. So this is just a video about about evolution of HR. So I was trying to figure out and look at a lot of content I looked at online, where I could pick up how HR really began. But I found a lot of stuff, but none of it was India centric. Right? It spoke about because obviously it started in the West and then the concept, gradually grew all over the world. So this, and take all of this with a pinch of salt, because I don't know about the accuracy of it being 100%, but it gives you a pretty good view of how HR evolved even in India while taking on some global events as well. Right? So it's a almost 5-minute video. We'll stop at about 4 minute 30 seconds. I hope the audio is, it's audible.
Okay. Yes, it is audible.
Did you know that the 8-hour work shift originated in India? The year was 1912, and Tata Steel became the first company to limit the number of working hours for factory workers to 8. This practice was then adopted by Henry Ford in 1914. In 1919, the Works Committee was formed in Tata Steel to handle complaints concerning service conditions and grievances. This was later institutionalized as the Industrial Disputes Act by the Government of India in 1947. In 1920, Leave with Pay, Provident Fund, and Workmen Accident Compensation was introduced by Tata Steel. In 1921, DuPont designed the first ever multi-divisional organizational structure. In 1928, maternity benefit was introduced by Tata Steel. In 1943, Abraham Maslow explored what motivates people beyond pure survival and introduced the hierarchy of needs. In 1945, the world's first educational institution dedicated to workplace studies, School of Industrial and Labor Relations, was formed at Cornell. In 1949, XLRI Jamshedpur was founded. Courses in management and trade unions kicked off. In 1953, Heydrich and Struggles was founded, a first in organized recruitment and leadership consulting. In 1969, ABC Consultants, founded by Bish Agarwal, became the first organized recruitment firm in India. In 1970, Sir Aubrey Daniels coined the term performance management to describe getting people to do what you want them to do. In 1973, David McClelland started the use of competency in people management. In 1974, Larsen and Toubro became the first organization to set up an HRD department. In 1977, Rosabeth Moss Cantor, professor at Harvard Business School, published Men and Women of the Corporation, a landmark work on corporate power as it relates to women. In 1984, Wayne F. Casico addressed the need to justify the cost-effectiveness of the HR function. In 1985, the National Human Resources Development Network was conceived. In 1990, Edward Lawler introduced the concept of strategic pay. In 1992, the importance of non-financial performance measures was emphasized in the Balanced Scorecard, measures that drive performance. In 1996, Dave Aldrich defined the term strategic partner and identified 4 roles: employee champion, administrative expert, change agent, and strategic partner. In 2000, Ricardo Semler, CEO of Semco, Brazil, introduced a system in the company where employees could set up their own pay and everyone knew what the other was making. In 2008, Callie Ressler and Jodie Thompson co-created the results-only work environment, where employees were paid for results rather than number of hours. In 2010, People Matters, India's first 360-degree media platform for HR professionals, published its first issue. In 2012, Adobe abolished annual performance reviews and replaced them with a regular feedback mechanism. And in 2013, big data became the next buzzword in HR. The HR function has seen many phases of evolution. People management, irrespective of the shape and form it is in, will continue to evolve because its main function is to make people and organizations more effective.
All right. So yeah, that was just a brief history about HR and and how it's evolved over years, and you'll see a lot of changes that keep happening because it undergoes constant upgradation, right? Because it's a topic of such interest, such wide interest, and has immediate gains, because any change you make, you can immediately see the output on how people respond to it and how it really impacts their productivity and engagement levels. So there's a lot of stuff that has happened over the years, and I think while this doesn't cover it because it's slightly dated, but over the last 2 years with COVID, I think the kind of changes that the HR function has seen has been pretty immense. So anyways, so why I put this word cloud out here is just to tell you that what is it that is a part of HR language today, right? What is it that HR is involved in? So HR is not just involved in hiring and firing and stuff like that. It is also also involved in impacting business, right? And it's involved in strategizing. It's involved in planning. It has a seat at the CXO table, right? And that is something that has happened over the course of time by the value that it has been able to add. Having said that, is it fair to say that we've all crossed that bridge and we're all super strategic in what we do? No, I think there's a huge distance to travel. And Dave Ulrich, a few years before, put it very succinctly. He put it out saying, HR has to move from input measures to outcome measures. And he saw that in the video as well, where we said employees started getting evaluated for results. So HR as a function has traditionally been very effort focused. That we will create the right processes. We will ensure that we are running the performance management system well. We are paying employees on time, etc., etc. Very rarely have we focused on what is the outcome of it. We don't. We did not. I wouldn't say we don't. In the past, we didn't really work on what is being achieved at the end of it. We just kept focusing on what is the effort that we're putting in, and we felt good about ourselves. And that is the reason why there's such a strong disconnect in what HR feels about themselves and what everyone else feels about them. But now gradually I feel, and I notice a change around me, and I feel that, we're changing because we started focusing on outcome measures. We started focusing on what the business really needs, and, what is it that really drives people. So we started going more. So if you look at the Maslow hierarchy, I think we've, slightly upgraded ourselves and, started looking at it more holistically as to what do really people want. I know in a class full of psychology students, I should not talk about anything relatively close. Kavita ji, please, I apologize if I use any of it in the wrong context, but yeah, this is just my basic knowledge in this area. Okay, Abhirami, the no is for what? I didn't understand. I'll wait for you to respond on chat itself, probably. Okay, so yeah, this is
it is a no for you are not wrong when it comes to
okay.
The psychology.
All right, thank you so much for that affirmation. Right, and she sent me a yes in my direct message. So yeah, got that, Abhirami, thanks. So yeah, this is just to give you a view of what we're all about. And moving on, so the various parts of HR, and tell me if you think it's getting a little more theoretical. But this was because since people wanted to know, what are the different roles that people can do in HR. I think this caters to that largely. So if you see, the first point is strategic workforce planning to deliver corporate strategy, right? And I've realized this, and this is something that we do on a regular basis. For example, every quarter when I'll talk about my experience. I am the HR business partner for technology with Make My Trip. Right. Every quarter, when they create a plan as to what will be the projects they deliver in this quarter, what do they need? They need coders. They need coders to deliver, create those products and then ship it out. So the basic buck starts with HR, because HR will tell you what is the resourcing like, how many people do we need, how will we get those people, and all of it, right? So a very, very important, and also in terms of cost, what cost should people be coming at? So a lot of aspects there. So this is where HR really starts off with. Then going out and attracting talent. So here, the roles that you'll see here are, employer branding, are going on campuses and talking to people. So while we are doing this as a part of a series that, CVP has organized, there are also regular campuses who invite industry people to talk about their organization and the work that they've been doing, just to create their employer brand out there. So attracting talent, recruiting, which is obviously the hiring part, which we've been doing forever. So again, there's been a lot of change over time in this area of work as well. This is where essentially you'll see all HR careers start, right? So whenever a person begins as a fresher in HR, this is where they start, because it's supposed to be the easiest. While it's not, it still takes time to learn and get used to. But it's definitely a good place to start, because it gives you a perspective of, what does the business need? What kind of people does the business need? What skills do we require? And, how do you really sell those skills? So honestly, I think recruitment is more like a sales job, because you have very clear numbers, you have clear targets. These are the number of people to be hired, and this is the timeline. So super high pressure, typical sales job, but a good place to start. Then the next part is onboarding, which is done, by either HR business partners or their separate onboarding team, which is basically once you hire people, getting them onto the organization, settling them in, ensuring that they understand the organization's policies, processes, just making them comfortable. So that, and getting them ready to be productive. So the the result of the output measure for onboarding is that how quickly can you get the employee to be productive. And then comes learning and development, where you cater to the individual's growth aspirations and learning needs, and if there are any gaps that they feel in what they know and what they need to deliver. So we help in catering to that internally and externally. So you can do this through internal trainers. You can do this by partnering with external consultants. That it's a whole wide business just by itself. So each of these areas that I talk about are actual businesses by themselves, right? Outside for organized, so it's like that model where I'm forgetting the word. So in manufacturing, you have this BOT model, right? Build, buy, operate, and transform. So typically, I think a lot of HR has now become that, because a lot of companies want to outsource the specialized work to the specialists. Either the scale is big enough, like a TCS, right? Or any of these large organizations who can do everything in-house because they have like 1 lakh employees to cater to. But if an organization has like 100 employees or 200 employees, to have a separate section for each of these would be very cost intensive rather, right? So sometimes it just makes sense to have that right balance of, doing some stuff in-house and some stuff you leave it to the experts outside or even inside. Then the next part, again, a field which has immense interest to employees, rewards, recognition, and benefits. So this is not just, the awards that employees get. This is also the compensation part, the benefits part. When I say benefits, even maternity benefit, right? We saw it in the video. Then benefits like meals or discount coupons, for discount coupons for the business. Like if I'm in travel, everyone thinks that I get free travel tickets, or I can just plan my travel at great prices, which is not true a lot as well. But I think that's what we believe in. But just to give you an idea of what R&R is really there about. Progression and performance. So this is one of the oldest areas in HR, which earlier used to happen, I don't know if some of you have heard of the bell curve. So, every organization would believe, I should actually put it out here. So every organization would have a bell curve where it would believe that, so one corner of the curve is your top performers and one corner of the curve is your bottom performers. And then most of the organization lies in between, because those are the people who are doing, and it's like any class. I think we've seen it in school timings, that you have the first rankers and then you have the bottom rankers and then you have everyone in between. So, people followed it for the longest time. Now it's changing, because you realize that at the end of it, it's not a rat race. And, like I said, we're evolving gradually. So we look at people as people and not just resources. And we look at performance management on how the person is doing by himself or herself, rather than comparing them always with the next person that is around them. So that's one critical area, performance and promotions. And then the last part is retention and exits. Right, exits, obviously, there is a churn of people get better opportunities, they move on. If the organization values those people, they try to retain those people through using different levers. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. And that's the employee life cycle at large, right? Has anybody heard of the Great Resignation? There's a lot of talk going on in the last 6 months over it. Anybody? If anyone has any thoughts on it, would love to just hear for a minute. I know I've short my time, but I'll just stop sharing. It's the most hot topic within the HR fraternity today, and there are multiple articles out there on the Great Resignation. Anyone has any thoughts on it? Has anyone heard of it, or what do you think it is about? Actually, if you haven't heard of it, what do you think it's about? COVID impact on leaving jobs in mass. Vinay, can you explain that a little? I would love to hear your voice.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, everyone.
Yes.
I think during the pandemic, a lot of people were panic-stricken, and that has actually made people resign because of various aspects, which actually makes an impact for their individual health and also for their society and for their family. So that is the panic which I think has triggered for many of the people to resign. It's not a pre-planned one, but
Yep. Yep.
This is
Okay.
my understanding.
Fair. No, absolutely fair. I think you're not far. You're pretty close. Anybody else? Yes, Sangeeta, you've raised your hand.
Ma'am, can we tell that during this pandemic, the screen exposure and a bit of workload was there for the employees in the organizations compared to the previous time before the COVID? And due to that stress and pressure, they didn't had a work-life balance, and hence they just moved out. Can that be a reason?
Yes, absolutely. It definitely can be a reason. And yeah, you're right. That was one of the research reasons as well on why people have been living en masse. So I see a couple of answers on chat. Focusing on priorities, considering the ephemeral nature of life. Absolutely, I think that is so well captured, Shrikant. And is that us affected by COVID or US affected by COVID? I'm not sure, because both of them are true. Because most of the great resignation phenomenon articles have come from the US. Yeah, Ashwin. So it is from the US. Got it. So yes, I think all of you are pretty much on point. I think the pandemic made people reevaluate a lot of what really mattered, right? And what was it that they really wanted to do with their remaining careers or with their lives. And with that whole reevaluation in their heads, and somewhere with remote working, with virtual working, I think work-life boundaries blurred, right? When did work begin and when did it stop? There was never a clear demarcation. So somewhere, yes, people did feel a lot under pressure. And with the entire, the health scenario, especially the second wave, the way it played havoc, I think all of it put together made employees take some really hard decisions. So obviously that is on the employee side. On the ecosystem side, I just want to spend a minute here. On the ecosystem side, while you would think that everyone was just trying to survive in this period, and every the economy was not doing that well, but that's not the case. In the last, I think, in the last 2 years, I think close to 1,000 startups have really sprung up, right? And the funding that they've received from various MNCs and various corporations, India and abroad, has been crazy, right? And
Hariom.
Hariom, Sumedha.
So where was I? I was listening to Aakanksha now.
Okay, right. So that has. So what has happened is they've got tons and tons of money. So this entire new startup ecosystem that has really picked off in the pandemic has been throwing money left, right, and center to get the talent they want. So while employees have been frustrated for various reasons, and there are a lot of stuff going on in the employees' mind and head, you have this new set of employers who are out there with no compensation studies, with nothing works for them. They are just out there grabbing the talent that they want and throwing money in their faces as long as they get the talent, and especially for engineering technology, because the quality of talent there is definitely, there's definitely scarcity. There's a major demand supply gap. So obviously you can see from my reaction that I'm very passionate about this, because I deal with this on an everyday basis. The amount of people that I've lost this year is double the amount of people I've lost in the last 4 years. So it's that serious of a condition right now. So I'll just quickly go back. I know, Kavitaji, I'm really out of time. I will quickly run through the remaining part of it. Okay, so I think we'll skip this. This is just to understand some HR roles in the organization better. And obviously, one of my favorite HR people, Dave Ulrich, talks about it. So maybe you can Google this later. It's the 4-role model that he spoke about even in the video, and how HR roles have evolved. And now most of us operate in this field, this sphere of this section of the chart, which is partnering with business on strategic initiatives and being the change agent. And that is what I think HR started doing, while I'm not discounting what happens here, because this is the bread and butter, right? If you don't do these things right, this is hygiene. So again, going back to the hygiene and the motivation factors theory. So what is hygiene? If you don't do that right, none of this on top will matter. So it's obviously a combination of both, but this is where people in HR ideally want to be, because that's where they feel they're adding more value. So that's on that. Also, I think Kavita ji, while I was talking to you yesterday, there was this question we were discussing as to what does it mean to be what skills you require to become an HR, right? And what you see on screen, if you realize, does not have HR anywhere written on it, right? So do you really need an HR degree to become an HR person? It's not the benchmark. What you need and this is one slide that I've created by my experience only. What I've realized works well, with people I've seen around me, what my observations. And I think I've answered the introvert extrovert was supposed to be the question here, but I already answered that earlier, that you don't need to be either to be a good HR person. I think that works. But the other aspects are really important, right? And if you want to build a career in HR, I think you need to be comfortable with all of this, right? And I'll start something as basic as comfort with technology and tools, right? Because as HR people, you could be training, you could be talking to, you could be hiring, you could be doing so much stuff, especially in this hybrid scenario today. I think this becomes basic. Again, is it only for HR? No, it's across all corporations and all jobs. But as HR, people think, if you are HR, you're more like an admin, so you will know everything about basic technology and tools. Communication skills, obviously, I think we sell or we earn money on our communication skills largely. I think that's what we do for a living most of the time. Ability to influence, because very rarely will you have direct influence on anybody for them to listen to you. It will always have to be ways to indirectly influence people to help them understand what's good for them and the organization a lot of times. So a very, very key factor. Emotional intelligence, obviously, because you're dealing with people day in and day out, and you don't have a manual for dealing with people. So you need to be aware of yourself and of what people around you are feeling, and skills like empathy, etc., play a massive role. And it's become more important over the last 2 years in COVID times. This is one area, and I really want to want you guys to take note of this. Data centricity is something where HR has huge steps to take. Basic Excel skills, basic understanding of data, looking at data, making data-based decisions is something that we don't do well as a fraternity, and there's huge importance of doing it, and people who do it well really excel. So comfort with numbers and data is super important in today's time in HR. And the first two on understanding business context and organization dynamics is again very critical for a person to be successful in the business in HR. And I think one way this happens is there are some jobs where if you switch from one to the other, you will get a better hike, like engineering again, right? A coder has to code everywhere. Whether he's coding in TCS today and Cognizant tomorrow and MakeMyTrip day after, he's still coding, right? So it doesn't matter if he or she spends 2 years in one organization and 6 months in the next, because his job profile is not changing. He'll just get better at coding. In an HR's perspective, you first need to understand the organization that you're working in. You need to spend time and understand the dynamics at play. What does the organization do? So there's so much time that you need to invest in the organization before you start contributing. You need to spend time. So you will see, and again, this is my hypothesis. I would love for you guys to test this and tell me if you think otherwise. That people who've had successful HR careers are ones who have stayed for long with their organizations, who've invested time in the organizations, 3 to 5 years at least, and built careers rather than hopping from one to the other. Because then they are not building their expertise of the organization to understand the organization dynamics to really contribute and add value, right? So I just wanted to bring out a few of these points here, and I think that was it Okay, got it. And okay, I think this is the last slide, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So this is just my closing slide, and what it shows is my journey of HR. And I really wanted to share it with you to just tell you how it's been, right? And it's not been a linear progression or what is visible, and it's all the roles that I've done in HR. And it's been quite a journey. And if you see, there are some color codes. The green ones are my formal education pieces, right? And like Kavita ji mentioned, it's good that I switched from engineering to MBA. I completely agree. In my final year of engineering, I realized I cannot become an electrical engineer while I've studied it. I think that's the end of it. A career does not lie for me here. And I needed to do something else. And then over the next couple of years, I did the youth empowerment program with the Chinmaya mission. And why are these areas in orange or a different color is because I think these were the areas which were life transforming for me, right? So in the start, obviously, this helped me immensely. And then I served with the youth empowerment program as a value educator. And the other life transforming experience was when I, had my son and went on a maternity break. So while you keep doing everything else, I think there are some experiences that really change or shake up things for you. And I think this is what these experiences have done for me. And rest is just, the different roles that I have done in HR. I just wanted to put it out there. Any questions here, I can take it up. If you want to know anything more about any of these roles that I have done. And what lies next, you don't know. But yeah, I think that's about it. So with that, I come to the end of my presentation, and it has gone longer than I imagined it to be. Those are my contact details on the slide, available for a chat anytime on HR, outside HR. Would love to connect if anyone's up for it. So yeah, I think with that, I would stop sharing. And I see a couple of questions, Kavita ji, on chat. Okay, so one question is, do you conduct exit interviews and have found why so much people have left that too in COVID time? Absolutely. I again, that's my bread and butter. So we speak to every single person when the person resigns and when they leave. And the reasons, like I said, in tech especially, has been compensation to a large extent because the market supply-demand gap is such that people are getting increments to the tune of 100%. So an average increment that people are getting is 70 to 80% when they're leaving. So that is definitely there. Apart from that, people were leaving last year because, I'll talk about my organization, was because we were heavily impacted during COVID because we were in the travel space, right? So 2020, people virtually did not travel at all till like Diwali came. And so business was really hit. So initially, the travel sentiment wasn't that great and people were leaving because of that. But at the moment, I think apart from the regular factors, which is obviously better opportunity or better role and all of that, I think competition has played a major role in the last 1 year. Sorry. Okay. Do you conduct a survey on the entry fresh engineers who have joined from placement process in colleges? What number of years average they stay? Why it can't be increased and give loyalty into number of years? So who is this? AS Karan. Can you just explain that a little? I'm not sure I understand.
Excuse me. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes.
My point was that these placements generally happen, but I always see they only go for the money part of it. And then you train them. They don't have any loyalty. They stay for, say, 1 or 2 years, and then they keep jumping. But ironically, these institutions claim that they had 100% placement every year and make big, item out of it, which I don't agree. Number one. Number two, the real engineering subjects which they go through 4 years, they really are not joining for that particular line of learning. Added to that, all the faculty of the different engineering areas are losing the interest to teach also. So they know everybody goes only for the money or to the IT or cushy jobs, air conditioned. None of the people want to go and put their hands into the job and work and be loyal as it used to be in the earlier years. So this is a real trauma which is going on. And I really don't agree with the placement departments making a big claim that we had 100% within 15 days, one month, 2 months. All this is bullshit according to me.
Sure. No, I get it, Mr. Karan, where you're coming from, and I understand the sentiment as well. So to start with, loyalty has definitely taken a backseat, right? And that's why when I was speaking about the HR, HR skills, loyalty was one big factor there for HR to be successful. But coming to engineers, they don't. Obviously, the market is very attractive right now, and money is the biggest motivator. Loyalty is not seen as something that's working in their favor. So they don't value it right now. But honestly, I feel it's a boom, right? So there is always a high, and then there will be a recession on this as well. It's like the dot-com bust eventually happened. So even this is a temporary phase, right? It might last a few years, but eventually people will realize that there is more to organizations, than just money, etc. And there would be a price to loyalty for sure, which will come with time. That's my personal belief. On colleges and placement teams, I think, sir, to be fair to them, I think they're doing their jobs, right? And that's what the performance pressure on them is high from the institute, because the institutes have also, started focusing on placements largely. So academic orientation has gone down in a lot of such institutions as well. But I think that's what students want as well. So it's again demand and supply there. Students want to get placed, and that's why a lot of them enroll for a degree, and that's what the institution ends up providing them. So it's that circle that is there somewhere. Again, will it break? I hope so. And maybe people, like you and people who believe in, in the purity or the original way in which, the way these things were done. I think it's just about having the faith that it will come back. That's all I can say. But at the moment, I wouldn't blame anyone, because that's what the scenario is like. And I think people are just being realistic about the way things are out there. Maybe slightly longer answer, but I think that's what I feel. I see another question there. How to convey HR while discussing salary packages? Ramaji, can you explain a little? Okay. Till he answers, Kavita ji, I'm done. And the questions on chat are done.
I think Vinay has raised his hand. So we can listen to that. And here I have a few more questions being there.
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
Yes, Vinay.
During your presentation, you just gave an important point saying that the more the time an employee is investing in a particular organization, he gains more experience towards understanding the organization better, and that is the best part. I think that's what you were trying to put it across, and you said that it is an open question. So I wanted to actually think about, it just stuck to my mind. There is something called tenure analysis. So let us say from an individual employee perspective, if you are looking at this particular person is staying with the company for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, is that actually helping him per se, or is that helping the organization per se? How do you actually, from your designated position, would handle this? I was just curious to know.
No, absolutely. Great question, Vinay. And yes, tenure analysis is something that we do on a regular basis to understand, how long are people staying, and how are they contributing, and does contribution dip after a certain tenure, right? Because people have gotten too comfortable in what they're doing, and have they stopped aspiring to do more? So yes, there is definitely, we've seen results, and again, talking from experience only. There are, I thought, different functions, it varies. I was talking more about HR, but and in HR, I feel the contribution does not dip with time. because you're constantly getting more strategic with more time that you spend, because you have more institutional knowledge about the organization, and with HR that plays a very important role, that you understand people better, you understand the dynamics better, so you get into more important roles. And I realized that for myself when I worked I'm in my 7th year with Make My Trip right now, right? In my previous organizations, I think my average work tenure was 1.5 years in the last 2-3 organizations that I worked in. And I realized that the growth, the learning, and the opportunity that came my way while I was here did not happen in my previous organizations, because I did not invest time in them. The organization invested in me, but I did not. Having said that, after a certain period of time, organizations take you for granted, possibly because you spend too much time there. Ki, "Achha, ye to kahin nahi jayega. He or she's going to be here forever, so why invest in them?" Possible. That also might happen. Again, not taking that away. For the employee, what happens is they reach a certain life stage after spending 10, 15 years in the organization that they're very comfortable, right? And so I think it's different things working. Your aspirations change. When you're in the first 10 years of a career, you want to switch, you want to make the maximum money, you really want to, just take whatever you can and, grab it. When you grow a little later, your priorities change. You want more stability. You want more comfort. So it depends on which life stage the person is in and what are they aspiring for. And that should determine whether they want to stay and continue in their comfort zone, or do they want to really get out and try something new and start afresh. So I think it's an individual choice. I've seen both working for different sets of people. I hope that answers your question.
So yes, so we can actually conclude, or we can try to understand that it ultimately depends on the individual, how he takes it or how she takes it.
Absolutely.
And then how it
and there are pros and cons to both.
Thank you.
So there are pros and cons to staying, and there are pros and cons to leaving. It's very contextual. Yes, Kavita ji.
I think today the trend is also being changing. The people being staying in the organization for a long time, that doesn't tag that, okay, this person is going to be a great, loyal or a performer only. It is not like that. Things have been changing. They look into the data, as ma'am said, you focus on the data. What is that? Even if you have stayed there for 1 year, what is that you have contributed to the organization matters a lot.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I have a couple of questions being shared by others also. So I have seen that, there is a question by Sangeeta saying that employees do come up with the emotions. They are not machines to work. So, ma'am, personally, how do you deal with employees' negative emotions and bring them back to being productive? Okay.
Yeah. So yes, I think a lot of times HR people also feel themselves to be counselors, and they act as if you act like and give a lot of solutions, etc. And there are, especially in COVID times, we've had a lot of people who come and share what they're going through and seek solutions. So I think it is a part of the job, and somewhere what HR needs to do is understand whether it requires a formal counseling session with a professional, or is it something that you can deal with on a one-on-one interaction basis. So does the person really just need a listening ear once, or does the person really need some help? Right? If the person needs help, we direct them to a professional who takes care of it adequately and appropriately. We also help people sometimes to go on a sabbatical and take a short break, where they can cope with whatever they're going through and come back, and with whatever support we can provide. On the part where we feel where the employee just needs to vent out sometimes, and about their manager or about something or the other, it could be personal, professional. I think the idea is to give it a listening ear and try and solve for it if it works, if it's something which is within your control. Escalate it to the right channels if the employee is okay with it. Suppose the employee I'll give an example. The employee talks about their manager, about how the manager is not just supporting them at all and, creating havoc for them. So can I solve this without addressing it to the manager? I can't, right? I have to speak to the manager or the manager's manager. So I'll ask the employee, is he or she comfortable in me voicing it to the next level or to the appropriate people who can help to act on it, right? And if they are, then we address it, keep the anonymity of the employee intact, address it, try and solve for it, and eventually move on. Having said that, sometimes the employee does not want to take action on it. The employee just wants you to listen and be aware of it, and that's where you leave it, right? And eventually, I think sometimes just the listening part was enough for the employee to take it out of their head and get back to being productive. So these are the 2-3 things that we try. I see Vinay's hand up. Yes, Vinay.
I have a second question.
Okay.
The question is it's a situational thing. Let us say, like, for an example, in an organization, an employee is coming to a HR and asking, I am not able to collaborate with my superior. And he's
not able to collaborate with my?
His specific superior.
Okay.
Or supervisor or a
Yeah,
manager.
Yeah.
So how would you actually handle?
So
how do you think could be the best?
Yeah. So it's a very standard situation. Happens multiple times, because at the end of it, I told you, it's not a textbook, right? It's people. It's different people and in different sets of motivating factors for each of them, and what works for one may not work for the other. So there are obviously issues that keep cropping up. I think, again, the idea is to see whether it's a one-off incident or is it a trend. So the first thing I will do as the HR support person for that employee is to check with other employees in the team, right? So is there a problem that pervades across the team, and are all employees, or at least more than one employee, facing it? Or is it just that this person is just one person experience? So is the problem more mass spread or not? I think that's the first part to it. If there is a problem that of that nature, if it is mass spread, then there'll be an intervention with the manager, where we talk about that, there has been feedback in the system and this is what it's about, and we need to deal with it. So you try with the manager and their manager, you work it out and tell them this is how it's going and this is the area of improvement, and we help them through it. And there's a development journey for that. Having said that, sometimes it could be just one employee with their manager and everything else is all hunky-dory, right? So then you try and evaluate it for some time, right? The first time I will tell the person that, let me observe, and why don't you go back and try these things differently and see if the experience changes. So first 2-3 times you will try and sort it out by just helping the employee change their ways, and then maybe gradually give feedback to the manager as well, and anonymously, telling them that, maybe this is what you should be doing and all of that. So coaching the manager as well, while helping the employee navigate the dynamics. I think that's how it would work. And till you reach a point where you realize that, no, they can't work together, then you switch teams. So it's not, again, because it's a people decision, it's not a flowchart. If it is like this, do this. If it's like that, do that. It's very, very contextual. But this is how the entire process would really, pan out. And if the last step would be separation, then it would be separation. And it's separation in the sense, it could be separation of both these individuals from each other, or it could be even from the organization. Because at the end of it, an organization is more important than one individual. So you will have to work at what is best for the organization. So it could be either of that. Yes,
I think there are many other questions are also being there, but I'm going to share it with you. Sure. In the mailbox, so that you can answer that.
I can do that.
So that and a very interesting questions. Let me just give an highlight on those questions. That some of the questions are related to how is AI going to make a difference in our HR role? How is that HR BP and HR role being getting different in today's condition? In Make My Trip itself, how is the HR been working out to motivate the people, and what are the kind of initiatives being taken up? What are the OD or what are the generic kind of activities being taken up? What I will do is I'll share these questions with you, and then I'll share the answers to the team, because we are already
short
okay,
time. Absolutely.
Okay,
No,
so
would love to answer the questions. And
yes,
even if required, maybe sometime in the next week, we can probably have a smaller group catch up, depending on the time
yes,
people have.
yes.
Would love to discuss it. I told you, I love my job and my area of work.
That
So
it
we can
is very well
definitely,
seen, I would
we
say.
can definitely work on it.
Okay, and I would really take this opportunity to thank you that it has been a great eye opener. At least, as I said, that most of my students would be there. That is, the IO psychologists would be there. And the last slide that you have said about the emotional intelligence, the organizational dynamics, the business context, there was what psychology was. They were always thinking that whether the psychology would be blending with the HR, because in India, we do not have like, they say that MBA with HR. They will not say MSc psychology with the organizational psychology specialization can also enter into and can also do a great job. This is what my students study about, but somehow they are finding it difficult, but I'm sure that they are going to make a change because there are many HRs like you sitting at the top and doing the hiring. So that is creating a faith in them that yes, there is some job scopes for
Just
them.
to add a point to that, and this is, I'm not saying it because I'm here. I honestly, when I started working in HR, I honestly wished instead of engineering, I had done a degree in psychology before HR MBA. I think I would have been a much different and a much well-equipped HR professional than I am today. So I think psychology and HR actually go hand in hand.
Blends very well.
Yeah,
very well. Very well. Yeah. So I would like to thank you and everyone present over here to make this, series a very nice talk. And it was very interactive, and there was genuine questions being coming up and very relevant questions. And it is going to be very insightful and make a lot of, the students are going to make a lot of change in them. I would just take up from your this thing, game changer, you put across as one of the option, and you are creating a game changer in the life
Thank
of
you so
many
much.
today.
Thank you so much. Very, very kind of you. Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you.
Right. So I would request all to join this session to take up the benefit and gain the experience for the next global series webinar, which usually the CBB conducts at last Saturday every month. Okay, so please wait to watch the video of Chinmaya Vishwa Vidyapith. Over to the IT department now.
Should I drop off?
There is a video, you can also have a look at it.
Absolutely, absolutely.